about some of the major developments in this down to earth edition, definitely we have Chamoli event as one of the major coverage that we would be doing. But let's talk about some of the few important news. The first was the LTs. These are the swarming termites. Now swarming termites have been in news because they are considered as a precursor to the development of the actual termite. So what happens is, in a hot and humid condition during the spring or the summer months, there are swarms of termites coming close to one another, and then this is an indication of a potential termite infestation that could occur later sometime. So in Andhra Pradesh, we have recently witnessed in the Araku Valley swarming termites that have been seen. The next is Galgal. Now the name does not appear so common, but definitely you might have enjoyed it during the summer months, and those are the citrus lemons. Nothing more, but these are the lemons which are used for pickles, commonly called as Galgal. So India is bestowed with 27 different species, the citrus species of lemon that are there, and of which 23 species are found only in northeast India. Of the remaining species, Galgal is one of the most predominant species and usually seen in the regions of Chamoli in Uttarakhand. However, this time with the flash floods coming in, most of the vegetation of Galgal was destroyed. Galgal is also known as one of the plants that can survive the hardiest climate change phenomena. It has very hardy genes and can be used to withstand extreme weather climatic conditions. The next is the ease of doing science index. Now this is a new index that has been started by the government of India, and that is India's effort to match the standards of research at the global levels. So there have been various guidelines given for poultry, farming, gene editing, and various related technologies, and based on that, ease of doing science index has been created. The next is blue economic policy. Now blue economic policy is a concept where we are trying to enhance our fisheries, marine biodiversity and ocean resources to improve our GDP at a national level. Also, as we said, we have numerous other developments in terms of variants that have been seen. Now here we would like to focus on again one of the major topics these days, and that is COVID-19. Now in COVID-19 we have seen that there have been numerous mutants. It is believed that India now has more than 7,000 plus mutations, and the UK variant has nearly 35 to 75% more transmissibility in contrast to the previous virus version that was there, and also has nearly 30% higher rate of mortality. So a very deadly strain, we would say. Similarly, we have seen strains from Brazil, P1, which have created havoc within a period of 1 week in the Amazonas of Brazil. Similarly, we have variants coming in from South Africa that have been seen. Now all those technologies for vaccination which were based on mRNA, basically the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccination, are believed to have created changes in the protein structure. However, with the changes in the spike protein, these vaccinations would require either to have a booster dose or to create more developments for the vaccination as well. Again, we are talking about COVAX. Now COVAX is a platform which is a global platform where we are trying to provide vaccination even to the least developed nations of the world, and this is an initiative which has been taken by WHO, Gavi, which is the Vaccine Alliance, and the Coalition for Epidemics Preparedness Innovation. So Coalition for Epidemics Prepared Innovation, all of those three have been working hand in hand to provide vaccination to almost all the countries of the world. However, a little of it has actually been seen as a feasible solution in most of the LDCs, or the less developed economies, we could say. United Nations has also introduced another important term, which is a triple environment emergency. Now, what does this triple environment emergency focus on? This triple environment emergency focuses on three aspects. First is the climate disruption that has been taking place. The second is the impact on the biodiversity, which is the declining biodiversity and the rising level of pollutions. So these three have been marked as an indicator for triple environmental emergency. Now coming on to one of the most discussed topic these days, and that is the Chamoli and the Raini village. Now as we have seen, there was a glacier that broke, and this was around 5,600 meters above sea level from the Ronith peak, the Ronith mountain peak, where the glacier started to break. Now, as it broke, it first impacted the Rishiganga Dam. The Rishiganga Dam was wiped off within a few minutes, and then in the lower downstream region, we had the Tapovan Dhauliganga project, the Tapovan Vishnuganga project on the Dhauliganga river. So this Tapovan Vishnugad project was also destroyed. We had seen severe choking in this project, which was a 520 megawatt project. Now, if we talk about the classification of the projects, any project which is more than 25 megawatt is considered as a large dam, and the remaining ones which are less than 25 megawatts are considered as a small dam. There have been a series of dams that have been created on the Ganga river and have been approved. Interestingly, it has been called nowadays as an engineering drain rather than Ganga river. So what has happened is, most of the tributaries of Bhagirathi, Alaknanda that are seen have numerous hydel projects that are there, and these hydel projects are now converting Ganga into an engineering drain. Now what happens is, the total mass of the movement that took place in this event was extremely large, nearly 22 million cubic meters, and it moved to a slope of 1.6 kilometers at nearly 40 degree slope level, creating a numerous mountain debris that was brought into the lower lake. So at the Ronith peak, the glacier basically broke, and the flow started to move down, and in the lower area there was an avalanche with a flash flood and a lake that was artificially created, which further moved down, swiped the Rishiganga project, and then further moved down the stream to damage the Tapovan Vishnugad project on the Dhauliganga river. And there is where we understand why these features have been, or why these events have been occurring so frequently nowadays. In 2013 we witnessed the Kedarnath floods that were there. Now there have been various reasons cited to it. One of the reasons is rising temperature, which led to breaking of the glacier. The next is, because of the freeze and thaw, what happens is rainwater enters in the thaw, and thaw is basically the gap that is generated between the glaciers. So there is a freezing point, and when there is thawing, there is the melting of the water that accumulates, and when it expands, it further breaks. When it cools at the night, it further expands and breaks the glacier further, and therefore freeze and thaw is another reason that has been cited. Then the another reason is, because of the rising temperature, melting takes place. Because of the melting, the rocks get destabilized, which further leads to lubrication, and therefore it is a process that would strengthen itself one over the other. Now, why Himalayas have been considered as among the riskiest of the regions in terms of the landslides, the flash flood events that have been seen. So Himalayas, first of all, are the youngest mountains. They are prone to erosion. There lie in the high seismic zone. There are rivers flowing with a very huge flow, because they are in their youth stage, and therefore deep down cutting of the river takes place. Again, this is further accentuated by the cloud bursts, the rainstorms that are there, and the deep gorges basically in the Chaukhamba range this time was one of the reasons that affected. Between 1880s to 2015, it is believed that Uttarakhand witnessed 27 major landslides. of which one-third of the landslides occurred. That means 9 of the major landslides have occurred only in the last 15 years. So we can understand how we are moving closer to the tipping point itself. And if this continues, if the smaller projects which have been approved by the EIA, the environmental impact assessment, which we say there are 53 smaller projects that have been approved, if they continue, what would be the future scenario? Now, interestingly, Uttarakhand is one of the states that wants itself to become the Urja Pradesh or the electricity state, because it believes that it has been bestowed with numerous rivers and tributaries, and the similar is the case with Arunachal Pradesh and Himachal Pradesh, which are doing exceptionally well in terms of hydel electricity generation, and the same model Uttarakhand state was trying to replicate. So there was a plan to build nearly a massive structure of 450 dams, according to the data that was laid down by the Supreme Court committee. However, there was a role that was given to assess this scenario after the 2013 Kedarnath floods that had occurred in the region of Uttarakhand. Now, till 2013, before the Kedarnath floods had occurred, Commission had already given approval for 22 projects with a combined capacity of nearly 2600 megawatts, nearly approximately that much. However, 23 projects were under construction at that point of time, and they were later on being given approval as and when the cases emerged. But this has led to an engineering crisis, because as we said, there are numerous operational dams which are seen on Alaknanda Bhagirathi river, and then 30% of them are large projects. So if this keeps on happening, what would be the situation of the flash floods of the major hydroelectric power plants that have been there? A lot of power plants have now been regulated, brought under control, and there have been a stay on the future projects that have been there. Also, we need to understand the flow of the water. So it should be nearly 25% during the river's high period and 30% of the flow during the lean months, where you do not have ample rainfall coming in, and that should be maintained in order to have the stable structure in the region. Now, what we need to understand also is how this engineering marvels are done. So there is blasting that is done. Now with this blasting, there is commonly explosives that are used, and these explosives also, if they are not scientifically done, they can create an environmental disaster rather than an engineering marvel. So we need to understand this very, very carefully. What happened was, there has been examples of incorrect blasting that has been done. A good example was the same Tapovan Vishnugad project that we have seen has been impacted in this flash flood. The tunneling was to be done for that project, and in 2010, while the tunneling was done, due to unprepared or unscientific processes, we could say, what happened was the aquifer got ruptured. As a result, it created loss of nearly 60 to 70 million liters of water, which was enough to sustain nearly 2 to 3 million people. So much water got lost due to the unscientific process of tunneling or blasting that was done. Also, the nearby villages have been working hand in hand, and for the protection, we have seen Raini village, which was once one of the major proponents in the environmental conservation, where the Chipko movement actually began, and we have seen the one panchayats there were very, very strong. Now these one panchayats are coming forward to bring people informed or get people informed about the crisis that could be seen because of these structures that are created. So what is the need of R? We could say the need of R is to either create a separate department which would look into all the functioning, and this would be directly under the Ministry of Home Affairs. We could create a separate institutional study which could focus on the glacial landforms and how they actually could be tipped off. Also, we need to have a eco development board which takes into account how much should be permissible, and there are no undue measures that are taken on the side of the government or the people. And also a early warning system must be established. So disaster preparedness is again very important element that must be taken into account as of now. So those were some of the important things. The next interesting fact is e-waste, a common problem in India. However, we know that individuals, so where is e-waste generated? First of all, it could be individuals, it could be the responsibility of the bulk consumers, which are companies, or it could be the government departments or the electronic industry per se. So all of these are generators of electronic waste. Now of these, individuals are at the highest proportion. We have seen that of the total e-waste that is generated, only less than 10% of it is e-recycled, that is recycled or created separately as an electronic refuse. What does this mean? This simply signifies that, let's say you have a computer or a laptop or a mouse that has went wrong at your house. So what you do is you simply put it in the common garbage, and that common garbage does not go as an electronic waste. It is not segregated at that side, and it does contain harmful cadmium, lithium within it, and therefore separation or segregation of e-waste is very crucial. So if we scientifically handle, we have a capability to handle nearly 1 million tons of electronic waste every year. We have nearly 400 plus authorized centers where e-waste recycling could be done. There are various foundations coming in forward for the separation of electronic waste, and also it has been created as a result of the extended producer responsibility, where the producer is responsible to collect the end of the life electronic products as a part of the electronic waste that is there. Now what we need to understand, another important phenomena is a corporate social responsibility. Let's say I am one of the very big companies who has been established in any of the states in the India. Now what we need to understand here is that if I am a company, I am established as a company, I need to see that my company is also working with some social responsibility. It could be some contribution towards education, towards health, towards any other social imperative, towards women upliftment, towards tribal upliftment, or whatsoever. So government under the Companies Act, under the clause 135, has mandated that each of the companies would be contributing certain proportion of their responsibilities as a part of corporate social responsibility. Now each of the company which has an annual turnover of more than 1000 crore would have a responsibility for CSR. Also, if the net worth is more than 500 crores or the net profit is more than 500 crores, all these companies would have to cover the corporate social responsibility. Now what is the social responsibility? As mentioned, this could be contribution towards education, health, women upliftment, tribal upliftment, or any other segment of the society where you feel needs improvement. But what we have seen, since most of the companies are established in some of the specific states, so we have seen Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh doing exceptionally good in terms of corporate social responsibility. But on the other hand, we have places like Andaman Nicobar, Lakshadweep Island, where you do not have big companies that are established, Mizoram, Nagaland, and they have been doing exceptionally poor in terms of corporate social responsibility, and that has been severely neglected in those states. So equitable distribution of corporate social responsibility is also important, and how that could be brought about is another important thing that we need to understand. The next important topic that we would understand today is the perseverance, which was released on the Mars this time had much more better landing capabilities as compared to the Curiosity mission, which was the NASA's fourth mission, where the NASA's rover landed in August 2012. The Mars Perseverance was a fully automated version, and it had a active vision based terrain landing system where it was able to identify and consult the exact point on the land where to land. Jezero crater was the region where the ancient riverbed was seen with the alluvial beds, and this was one of the places that was identified. Also, next generation instruments were taken to Mars through Perseverance, and these included having cameras with zooming capabilities. Also, there was a technology to extract oxygen from the air in Mars. So there were next generation of developments that have been seen with Perseverance. The next is the concept of 6G technology. We are already familiar with 4G technologies. We are moving forward with 5G technologies. Then what is the 6G technology? 6G technology operates on terahertz. That means it is nearly giving in 1 trillion vibrations per second. So exceptionally higher amount of vibration per second that would be seen, and that would be nearly 100 times faster than the 5G technology. So exceptionally fast platform that would be seen through the 6G. However, it would require more than a decade to actually come in for the public users, and we are moving forward with China about to launch the 6G potential very soon. So those are some of the things that we have seen here. The next is, in India, electric vehicles are coming in. But why electric vehicles' future does not seem to be so bright? There are many reasons cited for it. First is the affordability. The electric vehicles itself are costly. In contrast to average price of a car, which varies from 5 to 7 lakhs, an electric car would vary, the range would vary from 12 to 15 lakhs. Similarly, a two-wheeler which could range around 70,000 or something, an electric two-wheeler would range somewhere around 1.5 lakhs. So definitely affordability is one of the major issues. The next is infrastructure. Where do we have the charging stations? And definitely there are lack of charging stations. This is something that could not be established door to door at this point of time. Technical issues are there where battery degradation is one of the common issues, and also people are not fully aware about this electric vehicle technology. However, government has been given assistance under the FAME scheme, but all these subsidies are going to the producers. We do not see the impact of these subsidies on the final cost that is there for the consumers, and therefore we need to understand that for a perspective of a consumer like us, electric vehicles are a very big issue in terms of affordability, in terms of the infrastructural facilities that are available. However, we have seen, despite of so much things going around the electric vehicles, at present we have less than 1% share of the vehicles which are electric vehicles in India. So those were some of the major things that have been discussed in this down to earth edition. We would be bringing in many more interesting lectures for you every fortnightly. Stay tuned, stay subscribed for more lectures on down to earth. Have a wonderful day ahead.